Hey everybody, welcome back. HSC Podcast 107. Big Box Steve on the mic, Big Smooth, and Fresh Wes. And we are fresh off of the NFL draft into the NBA playoffs. So lots of stuff happening sports wise right now. So we got a lot to talk about tonight. If you're listening on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, thanks for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, listen on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Appreciate it. So let's get into it. Here we go. Tough loss tonight. I know, Derek, you're probably not super happy about this 76ers Knicks finish.
Obviously, the NBA wants it to keep going because I could have sworn it wasn't there a thing where isn't there's like the James Harden rule where you're not supposed to jump into a guy when you're shooting,
Like Embiid does every time.
Well, Maxey did that on his 4-point play.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's Thibodeau, dude. Like Hart played the entire game. Brunson only came out for 2 minutes, and you could tell Brunson couldn't shoot at the end. He had no legs.
Yeah, he's
Like,
tired.
dude, play some of your bench for like a few minutes. Just give him some rest.
Yeah, it's tough. And then you get, Brunson at the end making a questionable play, it ends up in a
Right.
turnover.
Yeah.
You got to wonder, how tired he is. You're in an overtime game.
Yeah.
So that was rough. Maxey was hitting some shots though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's tough. There's some times when, it's kind of like the Jamal Murray thing, right? Like if the guy's going to hit those kind of shots, like what can you do?
Right. Josh Hart can make his free throws, then it wouldn't have mattered.
But you still have a 3-2 lead, so
You know.
still in decent shape there. So Denver puts out the Lakers. I mean, kind of expected, but at the same time, a lot of talk around this series.
Well, yeah, it's the Lakers. They're always going to get talk. I mean, it's like one of those where, when you're watching like March Madness and like a 15 or 16 seed always is like keeping it close. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, we're going to turn it on. And that's kind of how the series was. Lakers were really good in the first half of every game. And then it was like Denver's like, no, man, we're not going to let that happen.
Yeah, D'Angelo Russell also really, didn't play real well in this series comparatively to the year. I mean, he played a pretty good year, so that's tough for them. LeBron still played well. AD played well, but overall, Denver, there's too much talent on Denver for a team like the Lakers, I think. Minnesota beats the Suns. So, what do you guys think of that series?
Phoenix, I don't want to hear anything about the big three. I don't understand it. When you get swept by Minnesota, you're not the big three anymore. Like, so then there's these rumors about Booker wanting to leave. And what's KD gonna do? And I don't see what you can actually do. I mean, obviously you didn't have a very good team around them. It's kind of like the Lakers. Your supporting cast just isn't good enough to compete with the Denvers, Minnesotas. You know, it's just I don't know what they're gonna do.
Well, they're set to pay them $150 million next year, those three guys.
Well, it goes to show that manufacturing a super team doesn't work. How many times has it actually worked? Because think
Well,
about it.
yeah, there's no guarantee, right?
Well, if you look at the Spurs, the Mavericks back when it was Dirk, even Golden State. I know they got KD, but Golden State, the Milwaukee, all of them, what did they do? They drafted well. And these super teams, it's like, oh, okay, well, we're just going to get a bunch of stars together. But that's just not how it works. They have to play well together. Katie, Booker, and Beal, that's horrible. They're all three
Yeah.
scorers that want the ball.
Yeah, that's tough when because there were some big threes. That was a thing for a while that it did work out okay for a few teams, when Boston first did it.
Yeah.
Miami obviously did it when LeBron went there.
But Miami still, I would consider Miami like they didn't really, I mean, they won one, wasn't it? Or did they win two?
They won two.
They won two.
They won back to back, but they got awful lucky against San Antonio. That was just so lucky.
Right. And then and they lost to Dallas, right?
Yes, Dallas, right.
Dallas and San Antonio. So they went 2-2.
Which really, that's
Yeah.
like when you put together that team at that time. I know Bosch isn't ever going to go down as the greatest player ever, but he was playing really well at that time. And Wade and LeBron obviously will go down as Hall of Famers. That's
Yeah.
pretty tough to then go in and lose. The first one was the loss to Dallas, right?
Yeah. That was a shocker. Everyone's
That
like,
was a huge shocker.
lose to Dallas. And the second one was Oklahoma. They beat Oklahoma City, then they beat the Spurs, and they lost the Spurs.
Right.
Which, yeah, like Wes said, they should have lost to the Spurs both times.
And the Spurs killed them in the second. I mean, it was like 5 games. Like they're done.
Right.
Like they just annihilated them.
Yeah, I mean, I think this day and age, I don't think that's the best plan anymore. I think that worked probably, early 2000s or whatever. That might have been a good strategy, but in today's game, when you look at the teams that are real successful lately, like you're saying, Derek, there's a lot of, good role players, good team play.
Well, think about Golden State's dynasty. Besides adding KD, they were already a dynasty, right?
Right.
I mean, Klay Thompson, Green, and Steph, they were all drafted there, right? I mean,
They
they're
have the
big.
longest tenure of players at a team, the three of them do. So they're the number 1, 2, and 3 guys who have been at their teams the longest.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's pretty surprising though, like that they could stay together that long.
Well, then look, Boston, right? The number 1 seed. It's Tatum and Brown, right? I mean, they brought in Porzingis, but that he's not a like superstar. He's a good player. And then the Timberwolves, Edwards and Cat, right? And then they bring in a supplemento like Gobert. So they bring in someone good, but not like superstar status to supplement, like a veteran.
Right.
And Miami has been good at that too. Miami could do the same thing. They have a nucleus. They built it the right way. They just need to add a piece or two, It's just to do it, to just sit there and it's like, oh, we're just get 3 guys that, are all stars. And then you don't have the nucleus. It doesn't seem like it works very well.
I think the Suns really are the epitome of that because when you look at the rest of their team, they're not very good. Where, you're talking about like Boston, for example, like look what, Derek White. Is that his name, Derek White? Yeah, he comes and has a huge game.
Yeah.
So you've got these other players that not only have potential, but then if they score 30 points a night, you're winning easily.
And then not only that, you have a team like the Suns who gave up assets. they gave up players to get these guys. That's
Right.
another problem too.
Don't they not have like a first round pick for like 6 years?
Yeah, or a second rounder. They don't draft for like 6 years,
Oh
which
my
I thought was
God.
weird. I thought they must have got rid of it, but it used to be where you couldn't get rid of 2 years consecutively. But I must have got rid of that
Dude,
because
I
that's
mean, think
brutal.
about what's going to happen to the Suns, if they're not successful in the next couple years.
Dude, I already was like, hey, open tryouts. You want to play some basketball? You play
well,
basketball.
that's what the Nets did. That's why Boston's so good. Boston traded KG and Pierce away to the Nets for tons of draft picks. Oh, who'd some of those draft picks turn out to be? Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
Right. Yeah, teams like Minnesota, I think, I mentioned this on before, I think they're going to come out of the West. That's just my thought. But when you just look at their team top to bottom, they have a lot of good players.
Right. Well, the Nuggets, they're
So
all
do the Nuggets.
homegrown.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean Nuggets though, they got the big two when you talk about Murray and Jokic, dude, that's tough.
Michael Porter's playing really well though.
Right.
He balled the last game. And honestly, the Lakers played LeBron played really well. They had him kind of on the ropes at times, and then Michael Porter stepped up, and then Murray, of course, just started going off in the fourth quarter. But Michael Porter, yeah,
Yeah, he
he's really
played pretty good defense. He scored some points.
Well, I think people forget he was destined. They were saying like number one pick, number two, and then he just had injuries galore.
Right.
And so that like he dropped in the draft. Like he fell into the Nuggets' lap.
He's still what you would call, a top prospect for sure. Um, what about so I watched quite a bit of the Oklahoma City games. This is a weird team. Like obviously, Shai's really good. Chet Holmgren, he's got his moments, but for the most part, they don't have what you'd call like a lot of great players, but they're playing really well as a team.
like Giddy's their shooting guard.
Yeah, right.
It's like what?
Well, they got these guys coming off the bench, and they got starters that you never even heard of.
Yeah,
But like I'm saying, just regardless, though, watching them play, like they look tough. And again, the Pelicans, I guess, take it or
Yeah,
leave it.
without
You can
Zion, I
you can
mean,
say no Zion, right? It's like judging the Bucks right now because no Giannis playing.
right? Yeah. So like, if the Bucks go out, everyone, it's not going to be that big of a like upset, right? Because everyone's
Well,
like,
they're all
James,
gonna.
Dame's
Yeah,
not even
it's
playing either.
that's their out. Well, they're playing better without Dame this game.
yeah. They're up by 20 points.
But they
No,
they they just looked a lot better. Like I only watched a little bit of the first half, but man, they looked way better playing as a team.
yeah.
And then you got the Mavs and the Clippers. This is interesting because the Clippers, you look at their team, like they're kind of stacked.
If Kawhi ever plays,
Yeah.
like,
That's
is
a,
there
that's a,
anyone that after like that has had superstardom and then just decided he just didn't want to play anymore? Because that's what it is. After the Raptors, he was just like, nah, I'm good.
yeah.
Not going to play anymore.
Yeah, because if he was playing at a high level like he can, the Clippers would be really tough. But I don't know that the Mavericks win though. Still, like, what are they 2-2 right now?
You know,
So I mean, watching the Mavericks, it's kind of the same way though. When you look at it's either Luca or Kyrie, they don't have a lot going on.
No, I mean and now Luca's kind of hurt. His knee is a little banged up. But he didn't look very good the last game. You could tell something was wrong. I thought he was just tired. It looks like he's expending a lot of energy on both ends. He's actually playing defense.
Yeah,
So it's like, okay, he's starting to get tired. He's shooting in the 30s when it comes to 3-point percentage. That's not very good for him. And it just looks like well, I guess his knee's bothering him. So, but then Kawhi is out. Kawhi is not playing in game 5. Oh,
well, he hasn't played much. Has he
no.
played any of the series?
yeah, he played like one game, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Okay, so I'm annoyed with Embiid because I think he's dirty. But I at least can be I can say at least though he plays through his pain and injuries. Kawhi, it's like, oh, I got a finger, my fingernails ripped. I can't play. And it's the playoffs.
right.
Embiid has Bell's palsy. And he's like, no, man, I'm going out there.
Yeah. Well, and you could see it in his game. You could tell he's not 100%. Like you watch him play, and he's just
But he
not
goes
making
out
the
there because
moves.
they know they need him. I mean,
No,
and
they
that's what
they they can't win without him
right.
100%. I'm surprised that they're still in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think they would even make it this far, but
I think also we're getting to that point. Maybe it's a little bit earlier. Guys are getting tired. It's they're gonna have to adjust. It's just the legs. You played so many games, not much of a break. You know,
so who do you guys think wins the series between the Mavericks and the Clippers? It's 2-2 right now. Tomorrow's game 5.
I'm gonna go Mavericks because I don't trust. So, okay, if Kawhi doesn't play, do you really trust Harden to win you a series?
Right. Even though I mean, he carried them.
I know to win you the series though.
Right.
Anytime James Harden's been in a pivotal playoff game, he's disappeared. Or Kyrie, say what you will about him, whatever, but he shows up in the playoffs always.
Well, he looked really good in their last game. So that's tough. I don't know. I think it's pretty close. But you're right. If Harden disappears, like they have no chance. Like they need him to put up, 25, 30 points a game to compete.
What do you think, Wes?
oh, I, I'm gonna take the Mavericks, but I think it's go 7 games. I just think Luca's gas. His knee hurts. Kyrie's gonna have to continue to play the way he's playing. They're gonna need Lively or some role players to step up. You know, they get they Clippers are a little bit deeper. Um, I'm just gonna take the Mavs just because I think Lucas will be good enough to win.
Yeah, without Kawhi, I think he probably have to go with the Mavs, right?
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe Kawhi comes back for game 6.
And then leaves for game 7.
Yeah.
It's
And then he
like
start
he's like,
again.
I'm done. My wrist hurts.
Well, that's what he does, though. He'll come out and show, see how good I am. I do great, and
The
then
Clippers
the
have
next
never
game he's
done
like, I don't.
anything as far as winning championships, and he's just like, like game 7, it's not that important.
So it looks like Milwaukee wins tonight, right? So that series goes to 3-2. I haven't really looked up Giannis a lot. Is he anything for him coming back at all?
I think their idea was to get him ready for the next series. So you're probably not going to see him at all in this series. So because they're probably need that extra 3 days on top of this, the end of this series, if it goes 7 games.
And that's tough. I mean, but also when you think about it, if they could win, they're going to win tonight. If they could win one more game, take it to a game 7.
Yeah,
I mean,
he kind of would
any
want to see if Giannis could play or not.
right. So Middleton's averaging 26 a game.
Warris is taking over.
Yeah, he's been playing really well the last couple games. And I think the Pacers probably are still going to win that without Giannis playing. Halliburton is tough.
He's great. He leads the NBA in assists. The only thing is, if your guys aren't hitting their shots, doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Obviously, one of those nights. They have 80 points with 5 minutes left.
Oh yeah, they went through it tonight. It was rough. So pretty good playoffs so far, actually. Um, not super disappointing to watch. There's a lot of, Derek, you'd mentioned this earlier, talking about obviously it's because the Knicks are playing, but you're like, oh, Philadelphia gets all these calls. But I'm seeing these like game to game that I'm watching. It's like there is a lot of calls, um, just really like helping the offense.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like, what do you expect these defenders to do? You're really just asking them not to play defense.
Well, yeah. I mean, travel doesn't get called anymore. They moving screens gets called against the defense. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. And that's the thing is that's why you have these games like you see 20-point blowouts in the playoffs. You shouldn't be seeing that. It should be like the Knicks Sixers, where every game is like tense and intense, like it was in like the 80s and 90s, right? Gosh, you remember in the 90s, every game was like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like pretty intense to watch. Yeah.
It's like, and you see this almost every year now, is there's just games that it's like the other team's like, oh, we're done. We're gonna quit playing. They get beat by like 30. I mean, it's happened so often, even in the conference finals, and then NBA finals. Sometimes it's like, oh, well, it's like, why are there such blowouts in these games?
Maybe, I mean, it does, there is a lot more outside shooting, right? And so when you get cold, that can really change a score, right?
you
Like you were saying, like Indiana is a perfect example. You can get the guys open shots, but if they don't make them, all of a sudden you find yourself down by 20. I think that's where, you're talking about Kyrie earlier. When I was watching their last couple games, the way he's getting to the basket, that's where you're getting your points. He's getting a lot of solid shots, a lot of in the lane, floaters, getting to the basket, getting fouled.
It's almost like, and it's pretty smart. It's like you run everything through Luca, right? And you have kind of Kyrie, kind of like in the Allen Iverson position, right? Where he could just slash,
Right.
I mean, that's pretty smart, you know. He could slash, or he could pull up, do the pull up jumper.
But you got to look at guys like Giannis and LeBron, in particular. These are guys that they're constantly getting to the basket or going to the basket. So they're obviously going to be more successful. Even Shy Egregious, he's look at if you watch his game, I don't know that I've seen a lot of first steps like he has. When he gets to the baseline, like he's almost impossible to stop.
Yeah, he just seems really hard to guard. He's very unorthodox way he plays. You know, it seems like he can go either way with either
Yeah.
hand. He's slippery. I mean, he's not very big. I mean, just kind of skinny. You don't, he's deceptive. Way he plays.
But man, he's tough to stop.
And didn't it? Let me make. Yeah, and the Clippers traded him.
Right.
For who?
He was part of the Paul George trade, I think.
Oh well, yeah.
Yeah, the Clippers traded Shea, Danilo Gallinari, and 5 first-round draft picks
It's insane.
Oh my god.
for Paul George.
That's so insane.
And the owner's like, you know,
Well, that's a good idea.
5 first round draft picks.
Well, I mean, it's like what's his name? Rudy Gobert trade. Like that's to me, that's insane too.
You're trading away you're mortgaging your future.
But
I
I
mean,
guess it's working out for Minnesota, right?
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. If it works out in 1 to 2 years, great. If it doesn't, then you can't build on what you already have. You know?
Right. How the Suns are going to end up, right?
Yeah, the Suns, I can't believe that. Like I said, they'll have to open tryouts. Go down to Venice Beach.
Round two, this is already decided because these series are done, right? So you've got Minnesota and Denver in round two.
That's a crazy series. I mean,
For round two, that's tough.
that's just brutal. I mean, I was watching uh Charles talk about that last night. Charles Barkley. Just what a brutal. I mean, just going into the complexities of that of who's going to guard who. Like you're talking about who's going to guard Anthony Edwards, and someone's like, Pope's going to guard him. And Charles like he can't guard him.
Yeah.
Dude, he's too small. And then he's like, yeah, it's
Well, they're gonna have to put Porter on him, right?
I thought Porter, but Barkley said Gordon. That doesn't make sense to me though.
No, I mean Caldwell Pope would be better than Gordon.
He's going to go around Gordon.
Yeah.
To me, Porter almost has to guard him.
Right.
Or you just switch Porter and then
Well, Caldwell Pope could do it and then just give up the jumper, right? So you're like, hey, make him beat you with his jumper.
Yeah.
But then it's the problem with Minnesota is they've got Towns and Gobert.
Yeah. And then guarding Towns, and then Barkley's like, you better not just sit on the 3-point line the whole time.
Yeah.
And then what's his face says, well, wait a minute. He's like 40% 3-point shooter. It's like he's got to shoot his threes. You know, three's worth more points than two, by the way. But he's like, well, if Towns goes inside, the defense is gonna collapse more, and then you're gonna get other guys involved. It does make sense, but he still has to put up his threes.
Yeah, a lot of his threes are, off the high pick and
Yeah.
rolls, the trailing.
Yeah.
He's not setting up there too often.
He's the top of the key by himself hitting threes.
Right.
No.
That's a lot of time that's that high pick and roll.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the way you run that offense is, you do a high pick and roll. That way Gobert is back by the basket. So
Right.
if they pick up the pick or on the roll, then you drop it off to Gobert for a dunk, right? I mean, that's the way you work
Yeah.
with two post guys.
Well, and that's the problem is can Aaron Gordon guard either one of them? I mean, Jokic is a problem. We know that, right?
Oh, yeah.
But Minnesota, I think, has two problems at the big guy.
Yeah. And Gordon's going to have his hands full with,
Either of them.
With either of them. Of course, I would assume Gordon's going to guard Towns.
Yeah.
Gobert's going to guard Jokic.
Well, and that will work out to Denver's advantage if Cat stays out by the three.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Doesn't want to just camp there the whole time.
And then we'll Gobert get in foul trouble because of Jokic.
Yeah. Dude, it's such a great series. I mean, I haven't been excited for a series in a while.
No, I'm looking forward to watching those games. Specifically, the Minnesota Denver. But I think you're gonna have a few good series coming out here. Boston, they had the one kind of mishap, right, in the Miami game, but they still look strong, and whoever plays them, that's gonna be fun to watch.
Well, now Porzingis is hurt. He's in a boot. He got hurt. So they said he's gonna be out for a few games. They didn't say how many games. It's like when you're walking out with the boot, there's a problem.
Right.
So
yeah, you're sitting at a minimum of 2 games or 1 to 2 games, right? So that's a tough one for them, but I don't think they have a lot of competition. I think their toughest is they probably end up playing the Knicks, right, in the Eastern Conference Finals.
yeah, I think Indiana or Mill. Well, I mean,
unless if Milwaukee gets Giannis back, then you have a problem, right? If Milwaukee can somehow pull it out, and then Giannis can come back and play, then you have a problem.
Yeah.
But what they get the Magic or Cleveland next,
Cleveland,
right? Yeah.
Which has looked like, honestly, that probably will go to 7 games of like just a horrible series.
I don't even know what happened in that series. Like
you just don't know
on TV at all.
I don't know. You don't know which team's going to show up for either of them. It's wild. And so I think by the end of the time
Cleveland won today. They're up 3-2.
Because Cleveland won tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're up 3-2 now.
But there was only a 1-point win, so
right. No, it's literally been back and forth, and then they probably go so they got to go 6 minimum, right? They're going to be tired coming into playing one of these better teams. So I don't know that either Cleveland or the Magic really has a chance of winning. I think Philly ends up losing to New York. Boston will close out the Heat. And then I don't know, this Milwaukee Pacers is I just don't think the Pacers are that good, but Milwaukee, obviously, they don't have their best players playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just not that impressed with the Pacers overall. And it seems like they just struggle to score sometimes. They
Yeah,
store birds.
completely.
They kind of like Halbert, everything runs through Halbert, but everyone else is kind of like, all right, what do we do? You know?
Yeah, they're just waiting for him to make the plays. But either way, it's still at this point, I'm still sticking with my pick of Boston and Minnesota.
Did, did you put money on that? That's a good yeah, that would be awesome.
Well, I had to do it at the beginning of the playoffs.
You're dead.
I mean,
Well,
Boston, you're not going to get good odds on. Everybody's got Denver though in the Western Conference.
right, Wes. We got Boston, Denver. So
I've had Boston. Well, I put money on it DraftKings like months ago, but
Yeah, that's still the favorite though, right? Everybody's picking that. Well, I mean, NBA playoffs are long, but it's been fun to watch so far. So we'll see how that plays out. Let's switch gears and let's get into NFL draft. I feel like we were pretty good, with the first six picks, right?
everyone was good with the first six picks. Although I think we have to lots of people had the Chargers taken like neighbors, and we said alt, but
Right. Well, I mean, being that Harbaugh is there now, it's hard to say that they were going to take neighbors
well,
overall.
actually, I think didn't we get like 11 of the first 12?
Well, obviously, none of us had Penix going
Yeah,
to
I mean,
Atlanta.
but we had Knicks
We'll
going to
talk
Denver,
about that.
right?
Yeah, Nick's going to Denver.
We
I
had
knew
JJ
that.
going to the Vikings.
Yeah,
Didn't we have Fashanu going to the Titans?
I didn't. No,
No.
I thought the Titans would take Brock Bowers.
Oh, okay.
So I missed on that one. And then I missed on JC Latham actually because
Right. Yes.
we all missed on that, right?
It was Latham, right? Not Vashnu.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was the big miss because even if they took offensive line, which I thought they might have done, they took the guy I didn't think they would take.
Right. He flew up the draft boards late.
I had Latham in the 20s.
Yeah. He was like, that's what everyone was saying. And then, like, 2 or 3 days before the draft, everyone's like, a hot name coming out of JC Latham.
So let's first just kind of break down the draft, at least the first round picks here early. Bears obviously Caleb Williams. What's your guys' draft grade? So you got,
For what they
obviously
did, because they did got a
ABC.
Dunze too. Do you want to say for
No,
both?
no, just Caleb. What's he ranked? ABC. They do the plus A, minus A, B minus B plus. Like, what would you rate Caleb Williams?
Well, he's an A. He's the best quarterback of the draft, so he's an A.
A plus, A minus, regular A.
I don't give out pluses that often, so
I don't
just
give out
A.
pluses.
I'm not like that one that was at what West you showed where I like everyone was getting like,
Get an A plus, right? That's what
yeah,
I,
like
I
come
showed you
on,
guys. I was
man.
like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've like. Everybody gets a trophy.
Everybody, yeah, I was like floored when I saw that.
I think Caleb for me he's an A minus. So he's still an A, but I think he has his minuses, which
But
by
what
drafting Rome, they probably help him with his minus.
Well, the problem is though, Steve, okay, you have the number 1 overall pick. Who would make it be an A pick?
I don't think you get an A plus. Well, yeah, no, you don't. You really can't at the number 1 pick because you expect so much from a number 1 pick. Him by himself, it's an A plus for the team. He's an A minus for me. What do you think, Wes? What's Caleb's draft ranking?
I'd say an A, just because there's so much upside, and yeah, at first I didn't like that he was a little too confident, but it's kind of like, why not be confident? Look at your weapons. At this point, you got 3 really good receivers that can play every tier of the field, and you can attack defenses at every tier. And not only that, you got Swift that you can attack on, in a different way too, out of the backfield. You can throw it to Swift too.
Yeah, you got two security blankets, right? You got Komet and Swift.
Yeah. So he just putting a guy in there that, here's the Bears that really have never had a quarterback. And this guy is the most touted quarterback we've had in a bit. And the comparisons, which I think is not correct when you start talking about Patrick Mahomes, but he's Patrick Mahomes-ish. He makes the same type of throws, but he just doesn't have the arm talent that Mahomes has. That doesn't matter. Nobody does. Okay? He's a Mahomes B. And honestly, that's better than you're going to get. And in this draft, when you look at the draft talent, and when you go down, Jaden Daniels is great, but there's question marks about Jaden Daniels. I mean, he's got bad tape on him from the past. You don't know how he's going to play in the NFL. He might revert back to Arizona State type throws and stuff like that because of the pressure.
Right.
And May, there's all sorts of questions about May and Nix and JJ even. He's the safest pick. He's supposed to be this good. I mean, look at his commercials. Look at all the talk. He has put himself, if he is not good, it will be horrific for him because he has put himself in this position where you better be good.
What quarterback, when you think about it, has been put in this good of a situation coming out of college?
Number 1 pick.
Number 1 pick and getting put in this type of situation. Not most number 1 picks, as we know, go to bad teams, right? And obviously the Bears haven't been good as a team, but the weapons that they have.
Yeah.
He should become the all-time leader for season-wise passing and touchdowns for the Bears in his rookie year.
Yeah.
In his rookie year.
And he will if he stays healthy. There's no question. As long as he doesn't get hurt, I don't think there's any question he breaks almost all the franchise passing records this year.
Has to.
If he plays 17 games, there's no way he doesn't.
It's like when he like, because it's funny that Iowa got that punter. Have you seen that dude punt, Torrey Taylor?
Yeah, well, the Bears, dude, they drafted a punter in the third round, fourth round.
Dude, he's like Ray Guy-ish, not Ray Guy. No one's Ray Guy.
Right.
But I'm like, dude, he can kick the ball. And Caleb texted him. He's like, look, dude, you're not gonna be punting too much here. That was kind of funny.
But, well, because he's used to punting because he was at Iowa.
Right.
Yeah,
They punt a lot.
They punt all the time.
Although, also, I think JJ McCarthy is put in one of the best situations that you could put a rookie quarterback in as well when you talk about offensive weapons.
Yeah.
Yes. And they get the weapons and they have the scheme that JJ's used to play action pass. And that's what Minnesota likes to run. So he should fit right in immediately. He should start
Right.
immediately, I would assume, unless
No, they already said that Darnold's the starter.
he's going to start a couple games until he sucks.
Give him until the start of the season. They'll change their mind.
Yeah. But I could see why, maybe you throw Darnold out there the first 2 games until he throws 4 interceptions, and then
there's a big difference between DeAndre Swift and Aaron Jones. Like Aaron Jones is way better at helping a quarterback out.
Yeah.
Especially a rookie quarterback. Swift is good out of the backfield, but he is not Aaron Jones.
No.
And that, to me, when you look at Aaron Jones,
the greatest pass catching running back of all time.
No, that's
Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook. But when you put Aaron Jones is the ultimate security blanket, right? Because he will catch everything you throw at him.
Yeah, he's just so versatile.
And now you're going to try to cover, Justin Jefferson with Addison running, underneath routes and Hawkinson doing whatever he wants. Like I think JJ, honestly, of all the other quarterbacks, is in the best situation besides Caleb Williams.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at, so Jaden Daniels, has McLaurin, who's good, but that's about it. No offensive line. The Patriots
Miami just got rid of Curtis Samuel.
Yeah.
So that's a big hit for your receivers.
And then, I guess do they only have Dotson, right? Isn't that who they're?
Yeah, you don't have Dotson. He's good, though. He's real good.
Yeah. And the Patriots don't have anything. So, if I'm the Patriots, you sit May this year.
They got Polk. Dude. They drafted Polk, but that's still not enough.
May is in the absolute worst position of all of them.
Yeah.
So grade wise, I actually grade Jaden Daniels higher than Caleb Williams because of what he's going into. They're going to customize their game plan for him. Everything they do is going to be based around Jaden Daniels. And that's an ideal situation for him because that's where he'll thrive. He'll thrive in that, let me get some freedom, let me get out of the pocket, let me scramble, let me throw the ball deep.
Yeah.
Problem is he went to a team, the Commanders, who don't have much, and play the Cowboys defense, the Eagles defense, and the Giants defense 6 times, right? That's pretty tough.
Yeah.
I don't think it's not going to be easy for him, but I think grade-wise, he's the best that they could have done.
Right. Well, yeah. I just think they're not a good franchise, and they're probably going to ruin him.
Yeah, they might.
And statistically, at best, only 3 of these 6 quarterbacks are going to be any good. Right. At best.
Well,
so you got to think Caleb's going to do well, right? As long as he stays healthy. You got to think JJ's going to do well in his situation. So who's the third?
Knicks. And not because Knicks is better than Sean Payton's gonna put everything around him. He's gonna build the whole offense to make him feel comfortable. He's gonna tell him what to do. Knicks is a yes man. He's gonna do what he says. It's not like he's gonna go out there and have outlandish numbers. But they did draft Tony Franklin. They have great chemistry together. I just think Jaden Daniels, the franchise is terrible in Washington. And Penix, it's such a bizarre situation how that's even going to work out in the end. And honestly, I'll never have faith in Atlanta just putting together a team.
Well,
let's talk about
They got
the Penix
talent. I just
situation.
don't think they'll put together a team.
here, to quote Mel
get into it.
Kiper, this is why the Falcons are drafting 8th every year, right? How stupid are they? It's like, oh, we're looking to the future with the freaking old quarterback. It's like, if you're looking to the future, freaking draft McCarthy then.
Right.
He's like, what, 21?
Right. Penix is 26 almost.
And he's banged up.
He's 24, 25, right?
24, okay.
He's 24, but he's hurt. He's always, he's got history of injury.
But, he might not start until he's like 26, 27.
Right.
That's a wasted first round pick. Oh,
unless Kirk Cousins gets hurt again or can't finish out, right?
Then why sign him to that huge contract?
Because you had to do something.
You have the 8th overall pick. You knew you could get one of the quarterbacks at 8 before they signed Kirk Cousins. And signing Kirk Cousins just means Minnesota want to get a quarterback, right? So if you really wanted a rookie quarterback, you shouldn't have signed Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
because then Minnesota would have brought him back.
Good move, right?
Yeah,
And then
they have needs on defense that they could have filled there.
Yeah, and then so you take Kirk Cousins, so Minnesota has to take JJ McCarthy, right? Then you take Penix. So what does the Vikings do? They get Dallas Turner also.
Yeah. That's kind of ironic. Although, after I kind of broke all this down, I had Verse going higher. I think Verse would have been perfect for Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
Like, can you imagine if they put Verse there? Like, I think that would have been a great pick for them.
I don't know if I'd want to take Verse at 8, though.
No, I'm saying they could have traded back, right?
Yeah.
Maybe with Minnesota. Probably get their 11th and their 23rd.
Yeah.
And maybe get Turner and Verse.
Dude, that's the thing is like, if they would have traded with Minnesota would have taken McCarthy. They could have still got Penix at 11 and then got Turner or Verse or whatever with the other pick.
Yeah, the Penix, it's the problem is that I don't like or believe in Kirk Cousins. So it's not terrible. It's bad. It's real bad. But the thing for me is I just don't believe in Kirk Cousins. I think he'll probably get hurt again. He's getting up there in age. They believe they're a contender with their team as it stands.
And the thing, yeah, Cousins, it's almost like all the throws Penix can make, Kirk Cousins struggles with now. That's the only thing. But again, that's why would you sign him to $100 million guaranteed in the first place?
Yeah, it's more for me. It's more of a question of why did you sign him?
Who is Kirk Cousins' agent? That's the whole thing. Like, he's like, oh, wait a minute, you're gonna sign Penix? Okay, here, let me work this for you.
Kirk Cousins legitimately has the best agent ever. He's a top 10 paid NFL player.
Yeah.
Not right now, forever. Like for
But
life.
if you look at this, did Atlanta get better than the Saints or the Buccaneers in this draft?
No, not in the draft, but they're better in general.
Dude, the Saints got Kool-Aid, man.
I would say Saints and the Buccaneers are better in general than the Falcons.
There's two things that held Atlanta back last year. Coach, quarterback.
Okay, their new coach isn't that good.
And we don't know.
Quarterback isn't that good.
Come on, you can't hate on Raheem Morris yet, dude. You don't even know.
Well, is a retread. He has been a coach before.
He comes from the he comes from the coordinator brain trust. It's like he went to offensive or defensive coordinator night school. They all had that same type of their last coach. That's all he was, and he sucked. How can you have all those weapons and be that bad? I mean, he killed my fantasy team.
He killed my fantasy team.
He just demolished my fantasy team because he wouldn't give him the ball.
Well, the Saints added a tackle and they added Kool-Aid, right?
Kool-Aid. They got Adam at 41.
Yeah, but they still have Derek Carr, so.
And they
No,
got Spencer Rattler now.
But they got Spencer Rattler at pick 150.
Right.
I mean, and they got some value picks. I mean, they did
well. Look, dude, Spencer Rattler is going to spend all of his time trying to make the movie about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, and he's going to play Patrick Mahomes.
So I know we're not hip to the reality shows and stuff, but did anyone see the Spencer Rattler quarterback reality show? Because supposedly he did it in high school. Supposedly that's why he dropped.
Really?
Because people were turned off by him on that show.
Yeah.
But I was like, dude, that guy was in high school and he was like
Why didn't the Raiders take him?
Huh?
Why didn't the Raiders pick him?
They said they weren't interested in any quarterback outside the first round.
But yeah, because I mean, honestly, you got Aiden O'Connell basically in the same spot. Minshew is basically the same type of quarterback, like a mid-round guy. Why are you going to get 3 mid-round guys? Yeah. You already got 2. You don't get what you want, then Tom Brady will come back and start.
Hey, listen, I'm all on the Minshew train now. I watched Max Crosby's podcast with Minshew on it. Gardner Minshew is like the most hilarious dude.
Dude, he's awesome. I love Gardner Minshew.
You need to watch it. It's like he's like a cross between McConaughey and Dazed and Confused.
Yeah.
It's like he's out there. You're just like, it was kind of cool, man.
And you know what? But see, that's the thing. That maybe that can work to a certain extent. I mean, I'm not looking at his arm talent, but it's just the attitude at this point.
Dude, he believes he's the best player in the world.
And nothing rubs him the wrong way. He's just like, okay, that's cool, man.
Yeah, Max Crosby wants to kill me. Damn, that sucks.
No, he honestly believes he's the best quarterback in the world.
Well, he has, since Trevor Lawrence has come into the league, Gardner Minshew has actually been better statistically.
That's why I say there's a lot of question marks about Trevor Lawrence going forward. He better have a good year. But the thing about Minshew is, okay, you're the best quarterback in the world. You can prove it because you're going to throw it to like one of the best receivers in the NFL, Devontae Adams, and you got a rookie tight end who is a complete stud. And there's an all-pro tight end for years there. So not only all-pro tight end is if they're just gonna line him up at tight end, I'm like, I don't want him. You got to line him up everywhere like Georgia did. Right. You line him up, you put him in that slot, you put him in the backfield, you line him up everywhere.
Well, and they can't do that because they have Mayer too.
Right. Why is there a lot of hate though for this pick? Like I've seen a lot of Raider fans.
Because they got Mayer. But they're different players.
Okay, so like some of the Raider news guys talk about how toxic Raiders Twitter is. And it is. It's so bad. There's lots of stupid people out there. And all they cared about was quarterback, quarterback, quarterback. But you know what? Besides the top 3 quarterbacks, was I going to waste a bunch of pick? I'm not going to jump to 7 to take Penix.
No. I won't do that.
Right.
And, that was the thing is like, real time, we're texting and I'm pissed when the Falcons take Penix at 8, and I'm like, I'm gonna start destroying things. And like when it happened, my wife was sitting on the couch on the other side of me, and I said some stuff, and she's like, "Well, I'm reading these mafia books right now, so the words that came out of your mouth weren't as bad, or about the same as those." And I was pissed
And
off.
then
Then we're like, okay, the Raiders are gonna get, their tackle, right? So I was like, okay, boring. And then they did what I didn't think they had the balls to do, and that was get Bowers, the
Right.
best player available. The second best player in the draft, I think.
Probably. I mean, maybe arguably the first.
yeah,
I mean, it depends on how you view things, but
yeah. You can't just line them up, and you just can't line them up in traditional formations. You got to move them all over the place. Meyer, you can line up tradition. You have to line up traditionally. He's a traditional tight end. And that's why it's cool you have both. Everyone's like, oh, they already got a tight end. Dude, everyone's running 21 personnel now. And,
When was New England really at their best offensively? When they had Gronk and
right.
Aaron Hernandez.
Aaron Hernandez. Well, that's the big question is can the Raiders staff adjust to where they can make it where both of them play and make a difference and take advantage of that?
Well, Steve, you should know this. You know what Luke Getsy's favorite formation is?
Yeah. Uh, throw it behind the line of scrimmage.
Well, but it's the 12 personnel. 2 receivers, 2 tight ends, 1 running back.
Yeah. No, I know, but it doesn't help when you're throwing, screens the whole time.
Yeah, but now you could throw screens to Brock Bowers. He doubled the amount of after the catch than all the other receivers. He had double the amount of.
You watch some of the highlights of him running. He looks like kind of like a fullback. He's breaking tackles down the field. Like it's hard to tackle him. Like I said, you can use him in so many different ways. He's hard to bring down.
It doesn't always translate though, college to NFL, but I do believe talent-wise, Bowers is near the top, maybe the top of the class. So if you don't get anything you want up to that point, I don't think that's a bad pick, right? You look at that and you say, I'm going to take the most talented player available.
Well, yeah. And I mean, technically he is, like he's up there with Odunze, Neighbors, and Harrison as a weapon, right?
Right.
So you get him out of the top 10. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. I will tell you though, I was more excited for the Ndunze pick than the Caleb Williams pick.
Yeah, you wanted to get a tackle though, Steve.
No, I thought, well, that's the smart thing to do. But like if you're going for, impact and flair, like you did it. And so the whole time I'm like, get Fashanu. And then they draft it in Dunze, and I'm like, yes.
Not. It is not fair because, like I said, you could play all you have what kind of what the 49ers have in a sense. If you use DJ Moore like Dabo a little bit,
right?
If
in
the
that
49ers
kind of
keep them,
yeah. But yeah, it's.
DJ Moore can play that Debo part very well because he's great with that little hitch screen. He's good on the reverses. He's great on the long drags. Like he's the guy you want to get the ball in his hands, early and let him make things happen.
Yeah.
But Keenan Allen, he's a possession receiver, so Rome really gives them that deep threat, that you don't want to like try to press him. You don't want to, you got to be careful. He's going to get in that zone of the cover two, and he's going to hit you right there.
Yeah. And it's defenses will pick their poison. Like, okay, do we just let Keenan Allen catch 13 catches of the game and we keep everybody in front of him? Or, it's just.
Well, it's a testament. It's kind of funny. If we were talking like 2 or so years ago about the NFC Central.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, the Vikings and everyone else, right? They all suck. Now it's like, look at all four teams look like to have prolific offenses.
Yeah. Yeah, I showed you guys that thing. I was looking at that. I was like, I don't know that I want to play any team in the NFC East right now or Central right now. Like,
No.
do you?
No.
Even with JJ starting for Minnesota, they still look tough. And obviously, we saw what Green Bay and Detroit could do last year.
Yeah, you're just talking about different experiences at quarterback. You know,
Right.
that's the thing is you got two rookie quarterbacks in there. You know,
But the Minnesota's and Chicago's weapons with their rookie quarterbacks are as good as you can get.
yeah.
Like if you look around the NFL, it's hard to find a trio or just three people you can throw the ball to much better. The Bears have a little bit of advantage because they also have Cole Kmet, right? So they have three great receivers and then a pretty good tight end.
Yeah.
So Drake May, so we'll get down to number 3 here. Drake May, this is my biggest concern of the draft because I think he has a ton of talent, but he's going into a situation that I don't know that he can be successful there.
Hopefully they're smart and they don't play him at all this year.
But who are they going to play?
Zappy. I think they just need to take a mulligan this year and suck and get more draft capital.
Yeah, they're not very good. You know, they don't have a lot of weapons. Their defense is decent, but they're gonna have to get better everywhere if they want to even. I mean, shoot, if they want to be competitive in 2 or 3 years, we're not even talking about next year.
Right. No, you're talking a long way down for Patriots.
Yeah. And it sucks for their fan base because it's like they're so used to like, why do we suck? How do we suck? Like, how is this possible? And so it's like they have to
How is this possible?
eat it for like a couple years just to build that team with a young coach and young quarterback.
Is Drake May the right guy for them?
I don't know.
Like,
I
can
would.
he sit back, wait a year, or even play through like hard times?
Well, we know they can't do that because they ruined Mac Jones. Even though Mac Jones was, I thought he was like a C, C. You know what I mean? Not
I'll
like
give Mac Jones a C.
not
Sure.
like horrible, but not great, right?
Yeah.
He did make a Pro Bowl, but they did him no favors with that team.
Right.
No. Yeah.
So I think it's tough. I think that's a real tough situation for Drake May, who I think could be a really good quarterback in a different situation.
Right.
Yeah, they're different franchises that I still thought the Patriots might drop. But the thing is, there's such a fad about taking a quarterback. They kind of fell into it. They would have been better served just dropping, getting picks, building
Why
up.
wouldn't you? Why wouldn't the Patriots at that point? Because I guarantee you probably would have got 11 and 23 from Minnesota.
And a first next year.
Probably a first next year as well.
Yeah, for me, I know this will sound crazy, but I would have been accumulating picks the next few years, and then 2-3 years draft Arch.
Right. Or just either way, you're playing for the future, right? It doesn't matter. Maybe
Right.
it's Shadir Sanders, maybe it's Arch Man, like whoever it is.
Because then it's like Arch would be coming into a situation that's a lot better. Okay, this
because
team
he would have weapons, right?
Nucleus. May's coming in, and honestly, he hasn't played a lot of meaningful football in college.
Never. No, he
His
hasn't
teams
at all.
were very good. He doesn't play that
100% talent. He's 100% talent, right? There's nothing about his game that went through big games that showed like I'm ready for the NFL. He's the most raw talented guy.
Yeah.
As far as physical specimen, he's 6'5" almost, right? You know, he can run, he can throw, he can do everything. But he played for North Carolina.
Yeah.
Well, he's coming into the same situation as another North Carolina quarterback. Because when Trubisky came out, what did he have to throw to him, right? What
Yeah.
did he have around him? Trubisky at least got him to the playoffs one year, but he was getting killed.
They're similar. If you look at the way Trubisky played versus the way Drake May plays, they're similar. They're not a lot different. They're that methodical. They're not. They don't. He doesn't run like Jaden Daniels, right? But he runs. It's very methodical. Strong arm, tall guy, big guy. It's going to be tough for him, and I don't know. I think he's going to bust on not his own accord.
Yeah, he to me, he seems like someone that is gonna get moved, like Jane Daniels might get moved, like in a few years. I mean, because I just don't think French Washington's. I mean, I did like Washington's draft. I did like Sanat, the tight end. I like Luke McCaffrey too later in the
Right.
draft. I mean,
That's
he's
not a
got
horrible
speed.
pick at all.
And so
And
I think those are
Johan
two.
Dotson and Terry McLaurin are not bad.
Yeah, they got. I mean, they had a decent draft, but they're basically starting from scratch
Yeah.
with a new quarterback, with a coach that I don't care. He just doesn't exude a lot of confidence to me, and people always question his hire. Why do you hire this guy? You know, he really didn't do anything in college. Yes, does he have a modern football mind? Yes, but there's a lot of guys in college that have better records and have the same minds.
Right.
You know, it's like why pick him? What, because he's good looking? That's the
But
dumbest thing in the world.
you're talking about Cliff Kingsbury, right?
Oh yeah.
But
Well, he's
he's
just the OC, though.
offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Dan Quinn's their coach.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but just getting the OC job, it's
Right.
And Dan Quinn, when I had to be the Commanders in Madden a few years ago, and I ran the 5-2 because that's kind of what the Commanders should do this year because now they got 3 awesome defensive tackles again.
Right.
Like,
yeah, I still think Jade Daniels is in a better position than Drake May.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Patriots had nothing
Yeah.
offensively.
Which is that's why like you trade down, right? So for Marvin Harrison Jr., I think the obvious pick to the obvious team. I think he'll do well. I think it's a good spot for him.
One of their 12 picks.
I think I give him an A grade for taking him there.
Oh yeah, you almost had to because I mean that's a 10-year player right there. That's he just has way too much talent to pass up on him at that point.
That was another one of like the just don't overthink this. Just take Marvin because
Yeah.
everyone's like, well, maybe neighbors. I'm like, no, just take Marvin,
Yeah.
dude.
It's like if you're drafting a whole new starting lineup, which that's basically what they did, you might as well take the best player in the draft at that
Right.
point.
Then you have no receivers. This guy's going to get a chance to play right away. He's going to get the most targets. If Kyler Murray decides he actually wants to play football, like he can get him the ball. So you're actually in a decent situation if
You're
you're
gonna find
Marvin
out
Harrison Jr.
if Kyler Murray wants to play football.
Yeah.
Because how would you not want to throw the ball at this guy or
Right.
play, at this level? Because Marvin Harrison's gonna come in with the work ethic. And that might even help Kyler in a sense, I mean, because I understand Kyler's position in a sense. It is the Arizona Cardinals. Nobody cares about the Arizona Cardinals. So why should he care? They're just paying me.
Yeah.
It's like maybe Marvin Harrison comes in and changes the culture. Because they
He's
do.
the new Larry
They need an
Fitzgerald, right?
identity. They need.
No, yeah, it has to start with Kyler, dude. It has to. But Marvin Harrison's a good step in the right direction.
Well, and the Cardinals didn't look bad when Murray came back last year.
Yeah. No, I mean, They have a decent defense, they're solid on defense. They're not great, they're not horrible. And then Connor is always solid. He's always been good. And McBride, dude, is killing it. So now you add the one extra piece in a really good wide receiver.
Well, and then like Wes said, 12 draft picks,
Yeah.
influx of talent coming in.
Yeah,
Dude,
they brought a
you
lot
got
of young
Trey
kids in.
Benson at 66.
Yeah.
Running back, you know. I bet you the Cowboys wish they had that pick or had that guy.
What are you talking about? They got Zeke back.
Right.
They're all in.
They're all in. Yeah, I love it.
So Chargers, Joe Alt. I don't think there's anything wrong with this pick. I think that's good for them. If Slater, is healthy, plays well, and you got Alt on the other side, like that's two pretty good tackles.
Yeah. Now they can run the ball 50 times a game.
Right. And so that helps you with what Jim Harbaugh wants to do and just run the ball, right?
Play action.
Chargers had a really good draft. I hate to say it, but they did.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I think for what they are going to do, or what I think they're going to do, I think, yeah, they drafted right.
McCourty, I mean that was
McConkey.
Is it McClunky? McConkey, yeah. Yeah, but dude, he balls though. He's kind of like an Edelman type in a sense, but just more athletic.
Yeah, because he had a 4.3
Yeah.
40s.
You got a real
Open.
fast 40. But it's like you could have taken Malik Neighbors there. Did you miss out? Maybe, but I don't think that he would fit into how their offense would play out for the next couple of years.
Hey man, they also got Brendan Rice.
Right.
Right.
At pick 225, we got Brennan Rice.
So here's the issue that I have with that is what happens when Brendan Rice breaks out as like this awesome wide receiver?
It kind of screws everything up.
Dude, because you don't know, dude. I mean, come on, it's Brendan Rice.
I know. I was like when the Raiders were up, like, come on, Jerry, talk to him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take your son.
No, we got Michael Gallup though.
He showed flashes at USC.
Oh, he did. There's a couple plays when they played Tulane in that Cotton Bowl and they lost, of course, to Tulane. I don't know how. Dude, Brennan Rice balled in that game. Like he was like doing like catching the ball, toe tapping down for a touchdown.
No.
I'm like, oh, he doesn't look like his dad.
No, he doesn't, but it's that game, but there's many games throughout his career, but especially last year where it's like flashes, right? It's like he didn't look great, but then it's like, wow, now he looks really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, USC was weird because they had like 8 receivers, it seemed like.
You're right.
And it was like one did good this week, one did, it was like no one was consistent, but they had tons of receiving talent.
It's like we have too many guys to throw to here. It's like I just need 2. Like I need 3. It's like Cliff Branch's son. Like, oh, there's Cliff Branch's son. Oh, there's Jerry Rice's son.
Right.
Who other son is out there that we could put out there? Does Megatron have a son? Put him on USD.
I don't think it was. I think that's a sneaky good pick.
Yeah, look at a value pick. That I mean, I couldn't believe when I saw that when I was reading the ticker. I was like, how? What?
But at the end of the day, I mean, they're still the Chargers, right? However, like you just don't know now that they have Harbaugh.
Yeah.
That's scary because what really killed the Chargers over the last how many years?
Yeah.
5, 6 years?
Fourth
it's their
and
coach, right?
Yeah. Mr. Fourth Down.
Yeah. So 6, Malik Neighbors. I don't think they could have done any better. You have to give Daniel Jones help. You paid him.
Right. I mean, if the Chargers would have taken Neighbors, Alt would have been perfect there, but
Right.
because that's the thing is Jones needs
A
offensive
lot.
line and he needs pretty much their whole offense. And that's where it was kind of crazy. That was like they might trade up to get, and I'm like, why? It's not like, I mean, okay, Jones is a little bit better than Mac Jones, but he still has nothing. It's like
Yeah.
Steve Slayton's your best player, and you have no offensive line. Darren Waller is gone like AWOL. Like
He
he's
might
divorced
retire.
after like 5 months or whatever, and he's like trying to be a rapper and he doesn't
He's
know if
talking about retiring, dude.
yeah, I know. He doesn't know if he's gonna retire or not. He's holding the franchise. It's funny. Hindsight now, I'm like, oh, well, I guess the Raiders got that right.
Yeah. But you paid Daniel Jones, you might as well get him a weapon, right? And at least let him play for another year or two. And then if you still suck, you're going to have a top pick.
Yeah.
I mean, hello, they made the playoffs, right? Like 2 years ago.
Right. But the way they played last year,
No.
when
But
you
Daniel
think about
Jones
them,
was getting murdered last year, though. It
dude, he
wasn't
was
really his
running for
fault.
his life
Yeah.
every play.
Well, that's the thing is, do I think he's a great quarterback? No, but you can't fault him for the
No.
Giants' failures because he got
You have
killed.
to give him a weapon. They give him a weapon. They give him one of the best weapons in the draft.
Right.
And if he's not good, you can blame the offensive line, I guess, to a certain extent. But all you do is you get the ball and you be like, first thing you're like, where's Malik Neighbors?
Where's
Throw him the
Neighbors?
ball. Because he can jump over people. He plays like Jamar Chase. It's like they clone Jamar Chase's at LSU.
Right.
He's like just another Jamar Chase. And if
Yeah,
you
he's
can't
very
make it
similar.
work, if you can't make it work with him, then okay, then the Giants need a quarterback.
Yeah. I think the Giants did the right thing. It's what you have to do at this point. You're really saying, hey, Daniel Jones, if you can't work with this, like then you can't work with anything.
Granted, their offensive line does need to be better.
It's so bad.
I mean,
Well, just put him in the shotgun, throw it
you
real
have
quick.
to. I think you just have to put them in the shotgun and move Neighbors all over.
So let's go because 7 and 8 picks for me are both pretty wild. So 7, you take J.C. Latham at Tennessee, which I know they did want line. I don't know that he was the line that I would take there, but you still have a lot of players available, especially like a Brock Bowers here. Did Tennessee do the best for themselves with this pick? Like, what's this grade? Because I think this is about a B for me.
Yeah, it's always hard because there were like, okay, you had Alt, and then you had a group of like 5 offensive linemen where it was take whatever your preference is, right?
Right.
Because you had Latham, you had Fuaga, you had Fontenot, you had Fashanu, Mims, right? So they were all right there.
Which of the guys you just named, like I would take any of them before Latham.
Really, even Mims?
I mean, those would be like the same.
All right.
I don't know.
I mean, Fashanu, come on. Fuaga, Fontenot, yeah, I would take all of them over.
Yeah.
Mims was the closest, yeah. So Mims would be questionable. But is there any other position they should have addressed? Or, did they have to go line, no choice?
Well, they got the receiver, right? They got Ridley. So that
Which,
helped, right? I mean, so you have Hopkins, Ridley, and Burks. So you're good there.
yeah,
You
you are
got
good there.
Spears, and then they did pick up another running back, right? To go with Spears. So offensive line need for help for Levis. I mean,
Yeah, it's probably, I guess, yeah, offensive line is probably the best move.
They're building. They gotta
Yeah.
rebuild that whole thing now. Now you got a young quarterback. You don't have Henry anymore. You got a new regime. Like they're just, I think they're kind of building for the next, like kind of like the Patriots in a sense. Is it's going to take some time.
well, especially with how the Texans are,
Oh,
and you think the Jags should bounce back, and
the
then the
Colts.
Colts.
Oh, watch out for the Colts.
Yeah, Colts.
I think
Colts look like
Richardson,
they could be good.
because this could be Richardson's breakout year. You know, he's got a couple weapons, new weapons. He's got Mitchell. Um, yeah, I
You know what's
that
crazy about Richardson is that it sucks that he got hurt, but I think it's probably the best thing that could have happened to him to help him understand like this is in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
this is not. Yeah,
Well, that's
Yeah.
they talked to Gardner Minshew about Richardson. They're like, how is this guy? And he's like, and he basically said that he has his head on right, and he has the work ethic and stuff. So
Right.
that's like the number one thing for a rookie or first, quarterback coming in is, do you want to work hard or not?
he's going to have to work hard because there's a learning curve, and of course he has all the ability. It's just making the right reads and decisions, and all that stuff takes time. It takes repetition, it takes playing time, it takes practice. It's just, you know. But yeah, it's from what I see, he's like Jerry Jones. He's all in.
I, he probably learned a little bit of lesson though about taking hits and sliding and
Get out of bounds.
you're not the biggest, strongest, fastest guy ever anymore. He probably played his whole life like that.
Yeah.
So I guess we can I'll submit to Tennessee. I don't like the Latham pick, but you needed a lineman, so 6 of one, half a dozen other. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
Number 8, Penix. The only time I've ever seen an F grade in the draft grading.
Who gave him an F?
People are literally giving them Fs on the
I'm
pick.
going to give him an F.
Derek's giving them an F.
They literally,
I'm gonna give him an F plus.
they were literally handed the best defensive player available in this draft.
Right.
Could have had anyone they wanted.
I mean, look at this. I'm looking at the Colts pick. 15. You got Latu at 15.
Right.
You got Latu. You got Dallas Turner. You
The
got
Byron
Verse.
Murphy right there. All 3 of them.
Yeah.
And then Verse at 19, like 4 of them. It's pretty wild. I don't know how you justify it though, right? I mean, I've tried, and the only thing I can say is if Cousins goes down again, and that happens often, right? When you've had an ACL, you have someone to step in and probably play as well as Cousins and still give you a chance to compete for the division. Because Penix does have experience. He can make all the throws.
Yeah, but okay, you just said he had an ACL tear. Cousins did, and he might go down because you've had okay, so what do? You double down on your ACL tear quarterbacks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
but
hard.
Penix is like 20 years younger.
But he's had 2 of them.
I know. But there has to be a reason, right? Like there has to be a reason.
Well, the
You don't
reason is
just
these
pick
guys aren't going to have their jobs when Penix finally starts.
Well, you won't even have your star players by the time Penix is starting.
Exactly. That's what I didn't understand. And they're like, well, and I'm like, look at like how many teams keep all their players like that? Like London will probably be gone. Pitts will be
Right.
gone.
Pitts will definitely be gone.
Yeah, all you got
They'll only have Bijan. That's the only one they'll have.
yeah.
It's wild. Like, but there has to be like these guys aren't stupid, right? There's got to be some reason.
It's just the Falcons being the Falcons.
Yeah, I mean, what if the Falcons are the Falcons, It's like
So, I mean, maybe it'll look like the best pick ever someday.
once
He
he
still
once
won't win
he,
a Super Bowl with them.
once he goes out there and throws the ball and people see that, yeah, he can spin the ball. But the problem is, by the time that happens, yeah, London will probably be gone. Pitts, you gotta
Maybe they'll
and
just
then you
put,
gotta
dude, maybe they'll just put Cousins on the bench, dude, for his 200 million.
I'm just saying this. I'm pissed off for Penix, actually. It's like the worst situation for him to go to.
It is kind of crappy for him when you think about it. You're like, hey, by the way, we're going to draft you number 8, and you have no chance of starting for probably 3 years.
well, it's gonna
Two,
go.
at
go to-
least.
I mean, 2 years at the most. This is not gonna go well for Cousins. I don't think.
Yeah, his guaranteed money is done after 2 years.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's 2 years guaranteed.
And not
they
only
can cut him.
that, I still don't think they have some nice pieces. That doesn't mean it's a nice team. I still think there's all sorts of holes, and he's gonna get exposed. He's gonna get hit. He's gonna get hurt, or he's gonna get his feelings hurt because people are start talking about Penix should start, and his agent's gonna come out and say and all this stuff. And I think it's gonna wear on everybody, and they're gonna be like, "No, screw this. Bench Cousins, put in Penix."
Here's what's really going to happen, though. Cousins will ball out for the next 2 years, and then he'll have the Falcons by the you-know-whats because he'll be like, I'm Kirk Cousins.
Right.
I need to be paid.
So what? I'm 38. It doesn't matter.
And
Yeah.
and he'll be like coming off of like 2 Pro Bowl awesome seasons, and they're like, and he'll be like, remember when I signed this contract and then you drafted this guy to be my replacement?
And
Now it's going to cost you.
No, hold on. You know what's going to happen after that, though? The Falcons will be like, sorry, we're not going to pay you. And then Jerry Jones will call and be like,
Yeah.
hey, Kurt, come out here.
Like Kirk Cousins will go to the Cowboys.
So he's going to pay Dak an extension and then pay Cousins.
Yeah, that's wild. Now I just want to know how it plays out. That's it. Now I just want to see the end of the Kirk Cousins Michael Penix reality TV show. So that's crazy. 9, obviously Rome here to the Bears. I don't know. I couldn't be happier with the pick. I was thinking offensive line the whole time, but as soon as they picked Rome, I was like, wow, great pick.
You should have listened to Wes and I.
Well, the thing is Rome, it's not like Malik or Marvin Harrison Jr., where all the pressure's on them. He's just one of 3 guys.
Right.
And so that there's not a lot of pressure on him to he's gonna get open because they're gonna be rolling on other guys.
Yeah, he's gonna have nickel corners on him.
Yeah. So
Dude, this dude, he's already the best release receiver in the draft, right? So how are you gonna cover him with your 4th string cornerback?
Well, the Lions, you see what they did. They figured that out. They got Terrion Arnold and Enos Rackshaw Jr. in their first 2 picks. Plus, they traded for Carlton Davis. Plus, they signed
Yeah,
Robertson.
dude, they're like, you know what?
All
We're just
in.
gonna,
Well, it's
we were,
because
yeah,
their secondary sucked.
and they weren't that good. And also, you have the best receivers in your division. Like,
Right. Like they're solid. So yeah, I mean they address their needs 100%. But you also look at the teams they're playing against, you know you need secondary.
Yeah.
Because look at what Green Bay's receivers did, and then will do, right? And look at what Minnesota has at receiver. And now you add Keenan Allen and Roman Duce to the Bears. Like you better have a good secondary.
Bears better hope they get their new stadium is a dome, right?
Yeah,
it is
it is.
pretty sick.
That was the deciding factor for Caleb Williams.
Yeah,
He's like, I don't like the cold. Can you make a
I don't like
dome?
wind. I want a dome.
Only
Okay.
problem is when they go to Green Bay.
No, that's gonna
You're
suck.
right. You know, Green Bay's never changing.
Those are
They'll
gonna
be
those
like,
are gonna be
let's
worst
schedule
games.
Chicago for the last week in Green Bay.
You better get home field for the playoffs, like almost every year over
So
Green Bay. You have to
good
go to Green Bay.
overall. I'm happy. I think it's a great pick for the Bears. I think it really helps Caleb Williams. 10 JJ McCarthy to Minnesota without having to really trade too much. I mean, I don't know why they traded in the first place because the Jets weren't going to draft JJ.
Well, they were afraid someone was going who was going to move up.
Right.
There's
The
someone
Raiders.
That's with the Broncos.
Yeah, I think so.
Broncos wanted Knicks the whole time. I don't.
Well, no, I think they liked McCarthy too, though.
Yeah, they were fleecing them. I think the Raiders could have moved up. But JJ McCarthy to the Vikings is great for them. You didn't have to give up a lot of draft capital. You got a quarterback who can come in and start immediately.
Yeah, they didn't have to give up that. Remember, that's why they traded up to get that second first rounder because they wanted to move up,
Right.
and they got to keep it.
Yeah, and you have a lot of good talent around him. So he's gonna do well, you would think. Their defense isn't great, but the way what's this Brian what's that guy's name? The guy who used to coach the
Brian Flores.
Flores, yeah. He's all about blitzing anyway, right? So you don't need the best defensive players.
Well, they got Dallas Turner, who I think is the best of the end.
Right.
Edge
But didn't they
rushers.
lose what's his name?
Well, they lost Daniel Hunter, but they also got
Hunter.
Jonathan Grenard.
Right.
They picked up Kyrie Jackson in the 4th round, corner from Oregon.
He's solid.
Yeah.
But that's a good pick for Minnesota. I think that was great for them. And we'll see how now what the the JJ McCarthy hypesters if they're right or not.
Well, hopefully, because I had to take him in my dynasty football league because everyone else I picking 7th. It was between McCarthy, Penix, and Nix. So
Well, McCarthy has the most, weapons
weapons.
around him. He's the best chance to succeed.
Penix is never going to play.
Penix will never play. Well,
And
he
there's
will in
no
3
way I'll be
years.
drafting a Denver quarterback.
Don't worry, he'll play in 3 years. So Fashanu at 11, like I'm not sure why Aaron Rodgers wasn't more excited about this pick.
Well, because he wanted Brock Bowers.
Or you're old and you should want someone who keeps you from getting hit.
Well, I think what he was thinking is they did pick up like three tackle, or because of what they got, what Morgan Moses, they picked up tackles for this year. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, but Moses can also play guard. He's played a lot of guard. So what else could the Jets? So Brock Bowers, obviously,
Bo Nix still.
but I don't see a lot else the Jets could have
Yeah,
picked here.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, they got in free agency, they got Tyron Smith also from the Cowboys.
Right.
yeah.
So they got Morgan Moses and Smith. Both are older, but they're still veterans. So I think Rodgers was thinking, okay, you're picking up a guy who's not going to really play this year.
Well, I think you move Moses to guard and you let Fashanu start.
Well, they picked up well, they have Veja Tucker, and then they picked up John Simpson from the Ravens to play guard.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. Why he was like, give me a weapon.
Because he's thinking short term.
Right. Yeah, they could have took Bowers here.
You imagine that? Because they got Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams, and you put Bowers with that offense. And you know, Aaron Rodgers loves throwing to the tight end, too.
Yeah, give him an extra weapon. I'm surprised that Bowers slipped that far. I mean, you really look at it like all teams can use a Brock Bowers, right?
Well, I think like, and then we've sent it like the novice fans, they look and all they see is what position he played,
Yeah.
not what he can do.
Although, I think you get a guy like Fashanu, he's going to be a Pro Bowler for, 10, 12 years.
Right. But yeah,
Yeah,
for the
he may
future.
not make an impact immediately, but that's still a long-term offensive lineman
Right.
who's going to be a Pro Bowler for a long time. Okay, Bo Nix to the Broncos.
That's a tough one. Like at 12, it's a horrible pick, but it's almost that they had to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like they had no second rounder. You can't trade back because of all the other quarterbacks gone. So you had to take him at 12.
You got Zach Wilson.
You had to take him at 12.
You know, after the debacle of last season, Sean Payton had to do it because I mean, honestly, he needs to succeed now to a certain extent, you know. So maybe they're not that great this year, but, you know, next year they, start ramping up. They get that, they get some more players, free agents, and see, this is kind of like a test run and to see how Bo Nix. I mean, I assume he's starting day one unless Stidham's going to start, but it doesn't really matter. He's going to play because they got to figure out if he's any good because there's question marks. People have question marks about Bo Nix's arm strength, his accuracy,
But isn't a Sean Payton offense the perfect place for a guy like Bo Nix?
It is. It is. The problem is you just don't know offensively. I mean, how they're going to, how they're going to do. I mean, it's not a typical Sean Payton team. Sean Payton's always had Drew Brees. He's always had good teams. This is like there's uncharted. There's a lot of variables that even he's probably like scratching his head about. Is like he's trying to put together this team that's going to be competitive and maybe be a playoff team, which is highly unlikely next year. And this year, next year, it better be, or he's going to probably just like walk away from it all.
Right.
He's not in this for 5 years.
They had flashes though last year. I mean, there was at one point where there was like, hey, the Broncos can make the playoffs.
You know, they beat the Chiefs.
Right. And it really came down to that Texans game where Russell Wilson threw the interception in the end zone.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would have been right there.
He's a Parcells guy. He's their situation. These are the cards I'm dealt. I can work with this and make us a winner to a certain extent while adding some pieces. That's kind of what he's has here.
Yeah, he gave him familiarity with Troy Franklin, right? So you bring in his
Which is
number one
great
receiver.
Fourth
and
round.
then here's the thing. Cortland Sutton's good. He's a good receiver.
Right. He's holding out though.
Yeah. So hopefully you sign if that works out. But then when you look at Tim Patrick, he's been good. He's just been hurt.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's got terrible receivers now.
No.
So I mean, if I think this is the perfect place for Bo Nix. Yeah, is it earlier than I would ideally like to draft him? But I don't see anywhere else he could have gone to be successful.
Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle would have been another place. Seattle.
Yeah, then he sits for a year or two.
Well, who knows? Could be sooner rather than later.
Well, they're high on the Geno train.
It could be high all they want. Maybe they're just high because I think that's at some point that's not going to pan out.
Right. Yeah, I know it's a stretch, but I think it's a good draft pick for them. I mean, I'd probably give him like a B minus.
C.
Ooh. Not a
well,
C
I mean,
plus?
it's just
C plus.
yeah. I mean, I guess C plus. It's just it's hard because they had to take him, but it's also that's their fault they had to take him because they used Russell Wilson as a scapegoat and jettisoned him with all that money still in the book. So they had to be desperate to take.
Right.
They made that their choice.
Well, ultimately, do you get rid of Russell Wilson? Like if you're in charge, do you get rid of Russell Wilson this year?
No. Actually,
I don't.
I mean, I'm the one that's been the hardest on Russell Wilson. But after you give him all that money, he was getting better. He was never worth the money, but I'd rather have him than dead money.
Yeah. And a rookie quarterback that you don't 100% believe in.
Because you're Sean Payton, you're going into a situation where, hey, we could win now. Now you got to blow it up and start over.
Yeah.
Now there's this unknown. There's a huge unknown now. That's the problem.
And it was Sean Payton's ego that did it.
Yeah, it is.
Because at 12, I mean, you have a lot of options there.
I mean, you had a defense that gave up 70 points. Maybe you want to get some defensive players.
Right. Maybe you want to bring in some defense.
I forgot about that for a minute.
Well, and they traded away their defense too.
Yeah.
Well, isn't Simmons still a free agent?
Yeah. And they've been shopping Surtain.
Jeez. Well, I'm going to stick with that. I think this is the best spot for Bo Nix. I think with the way Sean Payton runs his offense, you don't need a super strong arm guy, as Breeze showed for years.
Oh yeah, it's definitely the best situation for him because where else would he have gone and been in a better situation?
Yeah. I mean, maybe Seattle, but then you still need to stretch the field in Seattle because you got DK.
Yeah.
All right. So 13, Brock Bowers. We've talked about it quite a bit. Is there any other, like, what else? Let's say you can't draft Brock Bowers here. Like, what should the Raiders do?
Uh, I would have taken a tackle or a corner.
Yeah, because you got, Fuaga went the very next pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corner wasn't until Mitchell to the Eagles.
And then I'm looking, there is tons of veteran corners out there. So, I mean, Fawaga, if you imagine that, if they had Fawaga and then got Powers Johnson the second round, that offensive
Yeah.
set.
Well, because I mean, the reality is you still do have Mayer, right?
Yeah.
Because Brock Bowers, he's a game changer, but you've got a game changer on your team in this guy called Devontae Adams.
Yeah, but they also needed more speed. And it's weird saying, oh, they got a tight end for speed, but he is fast. I mean, he's kind of your slot receiver now. Because Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers aren't deep threats at all.
Yeah.
Well, Myers definitely is, and I mean, the way Adams runs routes, he's always kind of a threat.
And I mean, Wes mentioned it earlier, and I know he was coming off injury, but they did pick up Michael Gallup too.
Yeah. Yeah, so he may not get as many targets as you want him to get.
But I think that's what I mean. The problem was Devontae wasn't getting open, but wasn't getting the ball thrown to because he was double covered and everything like that. Now, if you bring in okay, Brock Bowers and Gallup, like you can't guard all these, you can't double team Devontae anymore.
Right.
You're gonna
Right.
yeah, you're gonna put them your defenses are gonna kind of be like, okay, now we just can't roll up on Devontae.
Well, even though, regardless, it's still you're talking about value, right? You're getting the best player value wise. So you really can't call it a bad pick ever because you're still getting arguably maybe one of the best players in the draft.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. There was one guy who gave the Raiders like a D because they didn't get a quarterback.
Right.
What were they supposed to do? Right? I mean,
Well, not
Penix
at that point. Like
Yeah,
you just take Spencer Rattler in the
yeah,
third.
third round.
But yeah, that's the thing. Is like they should have traded up. I'm like, 1 through 3 weren't trading. And who would have thought the Falcons were taking Penix, right?
It's so funny.
So it's like you can't give a team a bad grade because some other team drafts dumb.
Because Atlanta's stupid.
Yes.
Fuaga to the Saints at 14. Pretty good pick.
That was good. Yeah, because was it Ramchek? He might retire.
Right. He's getting up there.
And then Trevor Penning hasn't worked out at all. So
Yeah, so let's kind of go through those top ones. I know we're getting here close to the end. Is there any picks, that I mean, so obviously we got to talk about the Xavier Worthy pick for a second because you guys had to love that.
the Bills. Why would you trade with the Chiefs?
Did they trade with them to get Patrick Mahomes too?
Was it the Bills?
I thought the Bills were involved in that trade.
Let's see.
Why would you give Xavier Worthy though to the Chiefs? Is he not like Tyreek Hill? These guys are very similar speed wise.
Right. And they'd also got Hollywood Brown, who's similar in a way. So
Oh,
now
did
you
you?
just got tons of speed.
Yeah, did you happen to see Hollywood Brown catching balls from Patrick Mahomes? And they're yeah,
Yeah, you were
what's
right.
up with that?
It was Buffalo trading with Kansas City for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I thought they traded. So Buffalo gave him Patrick Mahomes. Now they're like, yeah, just we'll just take Worthy too. That was a big one for me. I don't understand why you would let Kansas City get Xavier Worthy.
Right.
I think the Brian Thompson Jr. was a big one too. That was another big one. I think Jacksonville made out better than they realized.
The only thing with that though is so now, well, they released Zay Jones, but you've now got Kirk, Gabe Davis, and Thomas, right?
Right.
So I
Well,
guess
I think Gabe Davis is going to be the same as he was everywhere. He's just that he's a deep threat. He's a slot receiver, and Thomas will now be your possession, your touchdown catcher.
I
So that was
like
pretty good.
the Eagles getting Quinion Mitchell at 22,
Right.
and then trading up and getting Cooper Dijon at 40.
Yeah, talk about securing your secondary, right? I mean, literally, probably the best two secondary in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, you can argue it, yeah, because they have what Terrion Arnold and like they're all grouped together.
Right. And you just put Kool-Aid up there. Like, I mean,
Right,
there's definitely players, but Mitchell for me, like he's the best.
right.
I don't think that for me there was no question. If I was going to draft a corner, I would take Mitchell. I thought Keon Coleman was a great pick for Buffalo. I also thought Powers Johnson was a good pick for the Raiders. Let's see what else here.
Yeah, I was hoping that Kool-Aid would fall to him, but looking at it though, what went Eagles, Saints, Texans, Cardinals, all right before the Raiders, and they all took corners.
Right. Well, that was like it was now or never time.
Yeah.
I like the Luke McCaffrey pick by the Commanders. I also liked Roman Wilson for the Steelers. I think they did well with that pick too.
Yeah. And what is going on with the Dolphins and Jalen Wright? They got Jalen Wright. Like, how many more fast running backs do they
Dude,
need? That's just not fair.
It's
because that's
killing my fantasy team because Mozart, he's holding on by a thread. He still does well last year, even with HN. So what do they do now? They bring in Wright. Come on,
right,
dudes.
Only offense I would ever believe when a coach says to his players like Jalen Wright or Etienne or said, okay, we're going to line you up in the backfield and then we're going to put you out wide, right? Because you guys are so fast,
right.
right? I mean, that's exactly
We're
what
gonna
they
run wishbone.
We're going to
That's
run
what they're gonna.
wishbone and then we're going to run the shoot. And you'd be like, yeah, that's a great idea. Stop that.
Right, but they're actually going to do it.
They're actually going to do it.
Adia Mitchell going to the Colts at 52.
Yeah,
That was a great. That was
that
great.
was a great pick too.
And
So
Well,
again,
and
that
then because you're
Latu and
pairing him
Mitchell.
now with what's his name? What's the Colts guy's name?
What, Richardson?
No, their receiver. They just
Oh,
Oh,
signed.
oh,
Pittman,
Josh.
right?
Pittman. So now, so Mitchell just now gets to go in there and just be that secondary option.
Yeah. And it really helps Pittman too because teams just roll up on him.
Right.
And he's not
all the time.
he's not that versatile. It's like you need that other guy that's can go underneath. He's just so athletic.
They have a Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne thing
They do.
getting ready.
But then also they got what? Who was the other receiver they got? The from last year, right? It was the guy from North Carolina, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, they're talking about spot track.
Oh, I thought he went. Did he go to the Colts? Here, let's look it up.
I have my spot track. Oh, there's my spot track. NFL Bolts.
I thought he went to the
Josh
Giants.
Downs.
Josh Downs, yeah.
Oh, Downs went to the Colts?
Yeah.
Yeah, Downs.
And he had a decent year, right?
And Alec Pierce. So they got Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, Pittman, and Mitchell now.
Man, that's a good receiving core.
With Jonathan Taylor.
Right.
So,
they still have Moss too.
yeah.
Yeah, they're set up pretty well.
Do they? Yeah. They don't. No, they don't have Moss anymore. He went to the Bengals, right?
Oh, yeah, he did. Sure. Yeah, they have. They got Tyler Goodson.
So what's interesting?
Evan Hall. It's still Evan Hall.
So Arizona also got Cowing, dude, and I think this is probably the steal of the draft.
Yeah.
Because he's out there running like a 4.35 or something like that.
The kid from Western Kentucky?
No, from Arizona.
Oh, Cowing. Okay.
Yeah. So they got Harrison and Cowing. So that was great for the Cardinals.
Here's mine because it's ridiculous because it's the Steelers. Peyton Wilson. It's like they get just inside linebackers drop to him whenever.
Right.
And they got him at like 98.
Well, I saw the Steelers ranked in the top 3 for their draft picks in multiple different grades. Like a lot of people graded the Steelers in the top 3.
Well, yeah, because they got Fontenot in the first, Zach Frazier in the second. So that's like your offensive line.
Right.
Then you get Wilson in the you get Roman Wilson in the third.
Yeah, Rowan Wilson.
And then you get Peyton Wilson at the end of the third in the compensatory picks. And then you get Mason McCormick, so then another offensive lineman. Yeah, so they fortified their offensive line completely. And then they got a stud receiver and a stud middle linebacker. What do they do in the sixth? Gosh.
Oh, no. Cowing went to the 49ers, dude. And they got the kid from Louisville, the 49ers did. Their running back. Boy, the 49ers did well.
Well, that's why they're saying they're probably going to trade Ayuk or Debo.
Yeah, because they got two good receivers.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, so overall, good draft. How'd you guys feel about the Raiders draft?
I mean, I give it a B because it's hard because the first two picks I loved. Then the third round was a reach. And then the two corners they got look great, but they're raw. So, that's the thing. Will Patrick Graham and Pierce and everyone get those corners to play up to what they could be? Then it'll be a great draft. But as of right now, looking like what I saw, first two picks great. Then it was a few reaches, and then they went back to okay, we got what the what's the DB of the year award? They got the guy from
With Dope,
Army or
no,
Air
is it
Force
the
or
Walter Camp? I don't know, what
Oh,
is it?
Air Force, yeah.
the Air Force safety.
Right.
And then they got the one I like the best is the Dylan Lobby.
From New Hampshire.
Yes. The dude is like a pass catching machine at running back.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dylan Lobby. Well, what'd you think, Wes? You happy with the Raiders draft?
About the same. Yeah, a B. I love the first two picks. The rest of them, honestly, I didn't really get to watch the second and third day too much, so I didn't see any highlights. Oh,
And they got a middle linebacker who's a two down thumper, which is cool and everything. But
yeah.
Well, the Bears drafted a punter, so
well, they only had what first started with
like
only
five
four.
picks.
Yeah,
They did well in the undrafted free agents though. So, but I mean, obviously getting Caleb Williams in Rome, I got to be happy with that.
right.
Even if you draft a punter the next.
Well, they got and this is where like the Raiders, I think, reached in the third because the Bears two picks before took the tackle from Yale, and I
Yeah.
think the Raiders really liked him.
Yeah, and he looks really good. I saw some highlights watching him play. And then they got a pretty good defensive end too from
Yeah, Booker.
Kansas.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, the Bears did only have four first rounders, and then they traded
Yeah.
or four picks, and then they traded for that fifth round pick in Austin Booker. They gave up a
Yeah.
fourth next year.
Yeah, so pretty solid, I'll give him a B plus. I don't know about drafting a punter, but whatever. That's the
Well, yeah,
way it
Caleb Williams
goes.
says you're not going to use it, right?
All right, well, good stuff on the draft there. We'll continue on with NBA finals or get into the playoffs here. And now we just can't wait for the season to start, right?
Well, we
This is
got the
this is
second round,
my
there's tons of free agents still out there.
there's a lot. I was looking at that actually, like you got Xavier Howard, you got Justin Simmons,
Hunter Renfro
obviously
still out there.
a couple of the receivers, Tyler Boyd, Odell Beckham. Like there's still a lot of players out there. So you don't know. The other guy, the safety, Jamal Adams. So there's a lot of players out there that can help some teams. So, but this is my least favorite time of year is until football starts again.
Start watching baseball, Steve. You could have seen the Diamondbacks Dodgers game today. It was postponed for hours because there was a huge beehive in the backstop area.
Well, I was watching some baseball highlights, and I was watching these umpires calling these strikes when the ball, it's not even close,
That's probably Angel Martinez. He's horrible.
dude.
If
It's
you know who
bad.
the ref umps are, you know they're bad.
They're calling strikes when the guys are throwing it a foot outside of the strike zone. Like,
Yeah, he's horrendous.
I can't watch that.
He is known like they wanted to get rid of him, but the umps have a union, so he went to and his last name's Martinez, so he was trying to pull like this, but it's like, he's just garbage.
He was
He's so bad.
DEI'd in. He got
Yeah,
into the DEI.
yeah, he's garbage.
All right, well, we'll wrap it up here. It's good stuff on the draft. Can't wait to see what happens with some of these players. We did pretty well in our drafts as well. So I'm going to try to make some shorts, post our draft picks.
At least
And then,
now on Madden, I'll have a weapon and Bowers.
oh
So
man, dude, I might have to play Madden again. You give me all those weapons. Be coming
that's a
up on
deal.
Madden. All right, well, thanks for listening, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.